自分の中のあの子が出てくると、私どうすればいいかわかんないの。暗いのは嫌。苦しむ顔が見えないじゃん。痛いの好き。
Aloha friends, Uncle V here. Man, on top of Rift, SG also dropped Abyssal Yufine on us, at least the reveal on this glorious day. Rift, however, less glorious, very difficult. If you need a guide, I'll have a link in the description, but let's talk about something better, Thigh Queen Yufine. Probably the most unique unit gameplay-wise we've gotten in a minute, and I want to dive in on her with you guys right now. So, looking at her base stats, she's got ridiculous defense, good HP for a knight, and from what I understand, she's going to be a damage dealer, and she's going to be a hell of a good one at that. Starting with her passive, it's pretty broken. Just that second line alone right there, this one is already worth playing. Politis is basically a mainstay in PvP for a long time just for that line alone. And I mean, they specifically said, hey, when you use her with Politis, you stop all CR gain, and you can actually stop a lot of cleave shenanigans by just having her. And I definitely think that's something she could be used for, but definitely not limited to that. Second effect of her passive, when she gets hit, she gains 20 fighting spirit and has a 30% chance to counterattack. Counter set already built in, and she's a knight, so free Elbrus access, free counter set. So you know this unit's gonna do something pretty ridiculous. At the start of the turn, if her fighting spirit is full, it's going to dispel all debuffs from her. So yeah, she's gonna be really, really hard to crowd control. Oh boy. And you know, on top of all of that, if her fighting spirit is full, she's a cleanse. I think aside from any shenanigans from seals, from like a Knockwall or Archdemon, she's going to be really hard to crowd control the moment her fighting spirit is full. So what does she do with that fighting spirit? Well, she's going to consume all of that fighting spirit and give herself trauma, which is her unique debuff. You heard that right. It's a unique debuff, which is super interesting to me because that means even if somehow, let's say, she couldn't cleanse herself because she gets sealed and then they put buff block on her, there is no way to buff block a debuff. So she's going to press S3, give herself that debuff, slam an AoE, and then pop. She's going to be able to activate herself anyway, which is, I think, absolutely crazy. And let's look at the effects, right? It's going to hit all enemies, dispels all buffs, and then decreases their CR by 50%. So it's going to create this huge window where she can play the video game and her opponent can't. And it's going to ignore ER by default. No soul burns necessary. That's pretty crazy. So this is the really interesting part about her. Decrease defense by 70%. And then it doubles her attack and speed, right? Increased by 100% as doubles. So, okay, pretty crazy. So she defense breaks herself, but doubles all her offensive stats. And if her defense is higher than 2k, the effect it grants is doubled. So that means when she has more than 2k defense and she has trauma, her attack and speed is tripled. What? Okay, so I don't know if you guys think this is as crazy as I think it is. Let me give you a visual guide on what that means, okay? This is my Fire Lilius with what I think is probably going to be my Abyssal Yufine build. You know, it's probably not going to be exactly like this. I'll probably have it tankier with immunity set, right? And, you know, Yufine has 100 more defense, right? So let's just call it what it is and just pretend like this is 2000 right here. So if I'm going to run the same stat line on my Abyssal Yufine, that means when she has trauma, she's going to be defense broken from 2000 defense and has 7200 attack, over 300 crit damage, and 520 speed. What? She's She's the Cassante of E7, guys. If you play League of Legends, you should instantly understand what she's gonna do next. So this is a unit in League of Legends where they're a tank, and when they pop their ultimate, they shatter all of their defensive stats, and suddenly they do like 5 times the damage, okay? So let's look at this combat demo for a second. And specifically, I want you guys to pay attention to how fast she moves up the CR bar. So here she takes a turn, gets countered, very cool, right? She takes a turn, now she's going to be at the bottom of the CR bar. Immediately, she's 30% up. Okay, Abigail takes a turn. Very cool, she gets hit, all right? Now she's effectively defense broken, minus 70% defense. She's gonna hurt, right? Oh, wait, what? Hey, that's strange, guys. How did she get here? Last I checked, she was at 30. Okay, well, you know, surely 520 speed is fast, right? Okay, we're gonna soul burn this. You know, just one tap. Wait a minute. Did she just take an extra turn? Let's run that back. Now, look very closely how fast she just zips through the entire CR bar and takes another turn. What? That's interesting. So we have this unit that can flip herself to 7k attack, 300 crit damage, 500 speed, and it just takes some setup. And you know, what does she set up for? Let's take a closer look at her S1, shall we? So the S1 is probably the most normal skill, right? It's an AoE attack, you know, a little bit of chance for decrease attack, whatever. But when she has trauma, she activates a single target attack instead of the AoE. And when you soul burn it, it increases some damage dealt. Here's the cool part. It penetrates defense by 70%. What? So you got this unit with over 7k attack, 300 crit damage, 520 speed. And you're going to tell me she's going to penetrate defense by 70%? Well, okay. You know, what's the damage scaling? Surely it's not that crazy, right? Oh, when you soul burn it, it's 1.25 with 70% pen. Can you imagine putting an attack up on this? Let's call it what it is. You don't even need an attack up on this. But when you have an attack up, you should be able to kill anything in the game. And you are moving at 520 speed and absolutely blowing through anything that's alive. And well, you know, what if you steal a turn from her? You cut her, you don't let her go, right? Well, guys, let's bring it back to her S3. That's where this comes into play. You strip all of the buffs, so all immunity, invincibility, nothing is protecting you, no revives, right? You can't put on a revive buff. And then you push the enemy back 50%, cannot be resisted. So all I'm understanding from this unit is the moment she's at 100 fighting spirit and she takes a turn, your opponent might as well top right, because at that point, you're watching her take a victory lap. Like, it's pretty crazy, guys. I think this is like a crazy unit, crazy fun, not for the other guy, but not completely broken like ML Landy. Can you believe that, guys? I think this unit is not as broken as ML Landy, because at the end of the day, Epic 7, especially RTA, is a game mode that's all about punishing weaknesses, and it's not like she doesn't have any. I think for one, AoE S1 makes her very vulnerable to counterattack units, especially Aiden, who when you AoE her, she evades, attack up, counterattacks back, CR push, and you pretty much just one-shot this Yufine. All right, and you know, while we're talking about this, let's just play this footage so you guys can kind of see how some of these fights might wrap up. But still, just ridiculous unit, right? I think another one is having a built-in counterattack actually put her at odds versus a unit that punishes counterattacks. Lionheart Sirmia, who's actually at the peak of her power right now. She's never been as strong as she is now. Got a buff, right? A lot of counterattack units in the meta. You can pick her real early. So if somebody picks, you pick Abyssal Yufine too early and somebody goes Lionheart, you're going to have a hard time punishing them. And she might just be able to pop you because let's not forget, Lionheart also penetrates defense. And she gets activated a lot earlier. So you can definitely run her over. I think another hole in her game is that even though she has self-cleanse and a passive, if you manage to stun her, for example, with an arrow wall before she's at full fighting spirit, you can actually run her over because by default, she's not that fast. And once she's stuck being stunned, she's going to be stuck being stunned for a while. So all in all, I think Abyssal Yufine sounds like a super fun character, great carry potential, and if I had to guess, when you're playing her in RTA, she's probably going to be around a 3rd pick, right? She's a very strong power pick, great win condition, but she's punishable when you pick her too early, right? There's a handful of really meta units that can do it. But when you pick her and your opponent doesn't really have a outright hard counter to her, I think she auto wins the match. Hits 100 fighting spirit, it's Jover. Like AoE pushback strip, pushback, 50% CR, can't be resisted, and then she slapped 520 speed and she's zooming. She's just going. So yeah, it's my take on Abyssal Yufine. Let me know what you guys think or what you guys are cooking, because I think there's going to be a lot of ways to actually play her. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great one. You know, I don't even know what to say. I'm super excited about this unit. Like and subscribe and, you know, chat with me in the comments, I guess.